Hi, you're watching The 60. I'm Roman Lillie, and today we're joined by John Jastremski of WAER Radio in Syracuse. We're here to talk about, of course, NCAA and the Big East. John, what happened? I mean, there were so many high hopes for the Big East. Everyone thought, they were the ones to watch out for, but we have Villanova, Georgetown, Pitt, all taken out. I mean, what's going on here?
Well, Ronan, I would just attribute it to being bad matchups for some of these teams. You look at Villanova against the St. Mary's on Saturday afternoon. I didn't know who Lamar Sanham was going into the tournament. He dominated a front line in Villanova that had just no answer for him. And you look at Pittsburgh, they went up against a tough Xavier team, which has always been good in the tournament. Now, people seem to be surprised that Georgetown lost to Ohio, and yeah, I was surprised they lost, Ronan, but this is a Georgetown team that was 8th in the regular season in the Big East, and has been consistently inconsistent all year. So you shouldn't exactly be surprised with them as well. And then Washington and Marquette lost to a tough Washington team. So, I understand the Big East hasn't had as much success in this NCAA tournament maybe as last year, where some people would hope. But, it's still the best conference in college basketball, and it just, ran into some buzzsaws, essentially.
Now, we still have Syracuse and West Virginia who are in it. What are you expecting from them down the line? Do you think they're going to be able to represent and go forward? And, who do you want to see?
Well, you look at Syracuse, they got a pretty good path to the Final Four. It's pretty much as easy as they could have asked for. Gonzaga, I thought was going to be a tough second-round game for them, and they wiped the floor of Gonzaga in Buffalo, New York, in front of all the Orange faithful at HSBC Arena. Now, they're going to go up against the Butler team, which has been in the top 10 all year. But the thing with Butler is they don't necessarily shoot the ball too well, and they're not that big inside. So that should be a good matchup for Syracuse. And then you look at the possible Elite Eight. It's either going to be Xavier or Kansas State. Ronan, I think it's going to be Kansas State. Their guard play is just too much for Xavier. And then you're looking at a Syracuse-Kansas State final, and I think it's going to be a great game. I'd give a slight edge to Syracuse. They look like they have a pretty good path to the Final Four. Now, West Virginia, they got a tough Sweet 16 game with Washington, which I expect them to get through. But then they got to probably get through the best team in the land right now in the Kentucky Wildcats. And I don't think anybody looks as good in Kentucky right now. So West Virginia, I think, is going to have their hands full in Syracuse.
Now, I'm a little surprised you said Kansas State, the other Kansas. At first, everyone was talking about, Kansas going really far. Of course, they got taken out in the second round. What is it that you particularly like about Kansas State that you think is going to propel them to the next level?
Well, Ronan, they got great guard play at Kansas State. You look at the kid Jacob Poe, you look at Clemente, they have good guard play. And you ask a lot of people what wins in March. Guards win in March. Now, they're a little bit undersized on the front line, and that's, something a team like Syracuse could exploit if they got Lorenzo and Owaku back into the lineup. But their guard play is very dynamic. And if Poe and Clemente play like they did against BYU on Saturday night, they're going to be a tough team to knock out of this NCAA tournament.
And now Syracuse does seem like they were able to make some adjustments with Onuaku being out. Do you think the team will still be able to keep that momentum going, now that they know he's not coming back for this next round?
Yeah, Ronan, it doesn't look like he's going to play on Thursday against Butler, and they did make some big-time adjustments. But I wouldn't even say adjustments. I would say that guys stepped up for Syracuse. You look at guys like Wes Johnson, Big East Player of the Year, really stepped up for Syracuse, had his best game of the season. And Syracuse is undefeated when Wes Johnson has a double-double. I believe they're 12-0 on the year when he has more than 10 points and more than 10 rebounds in a specific game. So 31-14, that's what Syracuse is looking for. They're looking for Andy Rapids to step up. They're looking for guys like even DeShante Riley off the bench. Maybe not the most skilled player offensively, but you know what? He's a bruising body. If he can grab a couple of rebounds, block a couple of shots, that's what Syracuse needs. And hopefully, for Syracuse's sake, that Riley will be able to, still give him some decent minutes because he's a big guy. And if he could pull some boards down and make some, clog up the lanes defensively, that's what you're looking for.
So now, what about some surprises? Who do you think might be the next George Mason out of this bunch of teams that, made it through that people weren't expecting?
Wow, Ron, excellent question. And there are two teams that you would say are the Cinderellas, if you will, of this NCAA tournament. One of them is an hour away here from Syracuse, New York. That's the Cornell Big Red with Ryan Whitman and all those great shooters. Now, the only problem I'd say for Cornell is they got to go up against the best team in the land in Kentucky, and I just don't think they have enough athleticism to deal with Kentucky, even though they can shoot the lights out. But, your Cinderella team, I got to say Northern Iowa, beating Kansas. They're going to go up against the Michigan State team without Taylor Lucas, who tore his Achilles, so he's not going to play. Northern Iowa might be able to pull that one out. and then they'd be one win away from the Final Four, and yeah, they'd have to beat Ohio State or Tennessee. Either would be favored against Northern Iowa, but you know what? When you're one win away from the Final Four, I mean, that's your Cinderella as far as I'm concerned. I got to say Northern Iowa.
All right, so Final Four, who do you have it?
Well, Ronan, when you asked me this last week, I'm sticking with my 4 teams that I got. I got Baylor, I got Syracuse, I got Kentucky, and I got Ohio State, and I'm going to say Kentucky wins it all.
Wow, I like that you're sticking with it. You know, I thought you might make a few changes based on what you saw, but you know, it's working so far.
Well, Ronan, I'll be honest with you. You know what? If there was one change I couldn't make, I'm not going to make it now because it would just be, second guessing. That's not what I want to do. I had my Final Four. I'm going to stick with them, but I think Duke might be able to get past Baylor, despite the fact the game is in Houston. Duke looks pretty good, and they should be able to get to a Final Four over Baylor. Baylor hasn't been overly impressive in the first 2 rounds, but I'm going to stick with Baylor as my Final Four pick, though. I can't go back on that.
Now, I was going to say, don't worry. You're in the company of friends. So, if you want to go ahead and make some changes, you don't have to feel self-conscious. It's fine. No judgment here.
Yeah, I know. But you know what? At the end of the day, when you still got your bracket intact, you shouldn't be changing it, All
right. Well, we'll see how it works out. I'll talk to you, maybe next week, and we'll see how those teams have pulled through.
Will do, Ryan. Take care as always.
All right. Thank you for being here. You're watching the 60 on LockerBlogger, and keep it here for all the NCAA updates. We'll have all the information for you.